What's up everybody, D-Man back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla vs Kong pitch video. I know, didn't we already finish this series? Yeah, kind of. I announced part 5 already though, so this shouldn't be a shocker to most people. So in this one, we won't be continuing the story. The story's already ended. I've already talked about how I would handle the movie. I've talked about the post-credits, how it would wrap up. You've heard it all. Massive spoilers for my version of Godzilla vs Kong, which isn't the accurate version because it's not real. It's just how I would handle the movie. Spoilers for my whole series. If you didn't see it, I would kind of recommend it. I enjoyed doing it. I think it was a lot of fun. Maybe you'll enjoy it too. This one is just a retrospective, so we're going to be taking a look back at my pitches and we're going to be tweaking them. I have a list of things here that I would be changing, starting out with explaining away a comment that was brought up to me, and yeah, it does make sense. Now, it isn't 100% confirmed. There's no absolute confirmation that there are other Hollow Earth vents on Earth, but it would make sense that there would be other Hollow Earth vents outside of just Skull Island and the one near Castle Bravo that they blew up in King of the Monsters. We hear Godzilla disappears off the radar near Venezuela, I believe, and then he reappears near Mexico when he shows up to fight King Ghidorah after Rodan has been released. There's things like that in King of the Monsters that make it sound like, yeah, the Hollow Earth is absolutely a thing with massive tunnels and Godzilla is able to enter and exit those at his leisure. And the Monarch website would help us believe that because Godzilla tends to disappear on that website quite a bit and then he'll reappear. So the idea is that maybe he goes into the Hollow Earth. So our first change to our Godzilla vs Kong pitch is that these Hollow Earth vents have also closed up. When Serizawa's bomb went off, a chain reaction occurred. It set off an earthquake that wound up closing off all the Hollow Earth vents except for the one at Skull Island. It was just a massive ramification that no one saw coming and there was no way to prepare for that. So Godzilla has been not able to access the Hollow Earth for that reason. The next thing I'm changing is that the Skull Crawlers are not necessarily the thing Kong is fighting on Skull Island at the start of the movie. When all the Skull Crawlers rise up, they're mostly just babies. There are no big ones. Kong has wiped out all the big ones. The only big one was the one from Kong Skull Island. There are no more of those. The biggest these ones get is like 75 feet, I guess, which I suppose was kind of the size of the big one. I don't know. There are no huge Skull Crawlers for Kong to fight. The ones that rise up, he can easily stomp and take out the same way he does to the 2 Skull Crawlers in Kong Skull Island. He's no longer dealing with any massive Skull Crawlers. Instead, at the start of the movie, we're going to get a fight that happens mostly off screen, and that might disappoint some people, but I wouldn't want to just start the movie with an absolute all-out brawl like the finale to another movie is the intro to this movie. I don't know. The fight's going to mostly happen off screen. It's going to be kind of King of the Monsters style. That's how I picture this fight. You're going to be on the ground with the humans. You're never actually going to leave the ground perspective. You are only going to see pieces of this fight from the humans' point of view as they look up, catch glimpses of the monsters. It's going to be like what Gareth Edwards does when he teases the fights, or the same thing that Michael Dougherty did a lot in King of the Monsters. You're going to be following the humans as they're trying to evacuate Outpost 33, and all this craziness is going on around them. So Kong's going to go to town wiping out a bunch of small skull crawlers as they rise up. He's going to be kind of on top of that before the ground shakes, and out of the pit, so where the boneyard is, it's going to sink in and erupt. The boneyard gets destroyed, as I've talked about before. This will give Kong some even more anger because his parents' resting place has been destroyed. That's also something that I'll add to this version, is that they're going to touch on that. Kong's a little bit more angry because his parents' bones have been destroyed. Along with the skull crawlers rises up a massive serpent. It's a giant titan with these huge frills on its head, and this serpent is going to erupt from the boneyard, and that serpent is going to be the one that created the tunnel, the massive tunnel down into the Hollow Earth that Godzilla will use later in the movie. The serpent's super powerful. It shoots these frills out of its head, it can shoot them out of its tail as well. It's super powerful, very fast, it's very dangerous. It's got something similar to Biolante's acid breath that it can shoot and burn Kong, like this kind of poison stuff that it'll shoot and burn Kong, and some of that will fall down onto the Monarch facility, burning holes. Like, it's basically acids. It's gonna burn holes in the outpost and burn down and melt all these soldiers. Like I said, we hardly see this fight. It mostly happens off screen, but the characters will stop and watch as Kong is able to overpower this serpent and snap its head. I picture him snapping the neck and tearing it off the same way he does to the snake in King Kong 1976. I'm not gonna really explain why I decided to add that serpent. For the people who are in the know, they get it. I've decided to change the Titans that arrive on Skull Island. I don't necessarily want to see Kong come face to face with certain monsters. Kong is going to come face to face with a new winged Muto at the start of this movie. I don't necessarily know if I want Barb to be the one who shows up on the island, Muto 3. I don't know if I want that to be the case because I don't want to kill her off. And as I've stated, Kong is going to wind up killing all of the Titans that show up. And we'll talk in a little bit. I'd change that as well, but I don't want Kong to kill Barb, and I feel like he would. So he's not gonna. She's not gonna show up. She's gonna be hibernating somewhere else. Godzilla has sent her somewhere else. She's out of the picture. She's Godzilla's problem. Kong is gonna come face to face with a new winged Muto, which will imply that there is more than just the Muto 3 left alive. This one's gonna be the only other one, by the way. Kong is gonna come face to face with this guy. He's gonna be kind of more evolved than the one we saw in 2014 as well, but he's not gonna be as old and as grand as Barb. She's, as Michael Dougherty has said, kind of the queen of her stage of Muto. This Muto, the one we're seeing here, he's just gonna fly into the island. Kong will see some other Titans. He's not gonna attack them though, like I said, he's just gonna look at them angry, roar, and then that's where the flashback will end. The flashback that is set in 2019 during the Mass Awakening. We're gonna now get a Godzilla 2014 / Kong Skull Island style intro that catches us up on everything that's happened. I said in the other videos that I didn't know how I wanted to tell Godzilla's side of the story. I didn't know if I wanted it to be news reports or just dialogue discussing it. This is what we're gonna do. I think this could be really awesome. Kind of like the end credits for King of the Monsters, but it's the intro to this movie. This intro will see Godzilla defending cities from Titans, so it'll just be like action-packed moments of Godzilla fighting Titans. It'll show Kong coming face to face with things like Behemoth and some of the other classic monsters or some other classic looking monsters. It'll show Godzilla swimming through the ocean, Kong battling a giant octopus that comes ashore. I couldn't live with myself not having a King Kong vs. Godzilla octopus reference, and so this is ours. We're gonna have Kong fighting a giant octopus that comes ashore on Skull Island that the implication is Godzilla sent ashore. Godzilla walking alongside the military into battle against other monsters, really selling home the fact that Godzilla is on our side at the start of this movie, which is why his turn will be so, I think, devastating when Godzilla eventually winds up being used as a weapon by the bad guys, because it's gonna be against his will. And it will also explain why Godzilla has a more developed relationship with humanity if we see him continue to fight alongside us in the intro. It'll show the Iwi village getting attacked by Titans that Kong has to defend them from, Iwi people getting killed, the walls getting knocked over, Kong rushing in to try and save them. There will be a quick snippet showing Behemoth escaping into the Hollow Earth. He's not going to be killed. I did not want to kill off Behemoth, so Behemoth is not killed by Kong. He escapes into the Hollow Earth before Kong can kill him. And maybe you can see Behemoth later on in the movie when Godzilla escapes into the Hollow Earth tunnel. I don't know if I want to show the Hollow Earth itself, but if I do, Behemoth will be down there. Now, I mentioned that I wanted to use as much of the existing cast for this movie as possible, and one person who I never mentioned is a Japanese actor whose name I'm afraid I'm gonna mispronounce. I'll give it my best shot. I believe his name is Shun Ogori. But in my movie, he will be the son of Serizawa. If you've read the Godzilla King of the Monsters novelization, you might have been blindsided the same way I was. Out of nowhere, the novelization mentions that Serizawa has a son. It comes completely out of left field. It's quite shocking when the novelization just kind of casually mentions it too. It doesn't even make a big deal of it. It's just like, yeah, Serizawa's son. This is his son. The character that Shun will be playing in this movie will be Serizawa's son. He will be a worker for Monarch. He will be heavily involved in Monarch. He will be one of the leads of our movie, and he'll be slowly trying to fill his father's shoes. It will be some big shoes to fill, but he's going to try and fill those shoes. Another thing that I'm going to be changing is with the human stuff. I'm trying to add a little bit onto the human stuff, because if you've listened to my pitch videos, you know that I have the monster storyline fleshed out. I make the monsters characters of themselves, but I didn't really talk a lot about the human characters because I don't have many ideas for them. I'm going to try and fix some of that now. Julian Dennison's character is going to be the son of a Monarch worker. That's how he can stay involved in this movie. We will go on the adventure with our characters because I have a feeling that's what's going to happen in the actual movie. So there's our excuse. He's going to be the son of a Monarch worker. That's how he's going to know Madison. They're going to go to school together. They're going to meet at school, and it'll be like, hey, our parents both work for Monarch. That's how he's involved. When we return to Skull Island, Iwi will tell us a little bit more about what occurred. We'll find out that Kong started out by trying to find peace with the other Titans that showed up on his island. He tried to rule over them, but they were destructive in their ways, and they were very reckless. It wasn't like they were necessarily disobeying him, but they were just reckless. And so Kong couldn't live with that, and it turned him cold, and it led him to start killing them brutally and relentlessly. Kong became a kaiju hunter out of necessity because he was forced to. These monsters would not coexist with the Iwi people, and so he was forced to turn on them. And that is when Behemoth escaped. Behemoth and any other fan favorites that need to escape will have escaped along with him. I want Madison to have a little more to do in this movie. I want her to be a main character as well. She was one of the best parts of King of the Monsters, and so I want her to have a little more to do with this movie as well. I'm changing the timeline of my film a little bit. Between the time it takes Godzilla to leave Skull Island and Godzilla and Kong to meet in Hong Kong, I'm adding an additional day. So there's an entire full day that takes place in between all that, where we get a little more downtime with Kong after he's been enhanced by the Apex soldiers. They've been chased off by G-Team. And this is where Madison can come in. I want her to connect with Kong following those events. Now we'll be able to get a cooled down version of Kong who's still not healed enough to go after Godzilla, but he's awake on the island and he's mourning the loss of the Iwi people. It's gonna be a really sad moment, but Madison can have a one-on-one interaction with Kong, maybe against everyone's will. She'll sneak out. They'll be on the island watching over Kong. She'll sneak out and go interact with him. I want a little bit more stuff like that, showing Kong having this personal connection with a human, really driving that one home, showing his loss and sadness, having him connect with another creature. And I also like the idea of Madison having this connection to Kong, because Madison has a connection to Mothra at this point, and so I think it'd be cool to have her connect with Kong as well. Like I said, a full night will pass between Godzilla and Kong's first fight and Godzilla appearing in China. This way we can have another Kong Northern Lights moment. Ling and Chen will also have more to do in this version of the movie. Ling will view Kong as the key to coexistence. We know that Ling spent a lot of time with Dr. Brooks, and so the two of them have clearly rubbed off on each other. So Ling will view Kong as the key to coexistence. Meanwhile, Chen will view Godzilla as the key to coexistence. In addition to there being a battle between Godzilla and Kong on a physical level, there's also going to be this kind of ideological battle within Monarch itself over which one of these monsters truly should be king. And it's going to be kind of understood that Godzilla is the protector of nature's balance, while Kong is the protector of life. It's going to be kind of the aspect they're playing up with that. Chen thinks that Godzilla is trying to balance nature by putting humanity back in check when he finally starts attacking places before they realize it's the orca. She doesn't think he's a villain. She thinks that he is protecting us from ourselves. That's kind of going to be what Mark thinks as well, but Mark's going to have a little bit more awareness that Godzilla isn't acting like Godzilla, that he's acting strange, because of course he would. Mark knows everything, and I'll keep that up as well so we can be consistent. Mark thinks Kong needs to stop Godzilla, but at this point he doesn't want to see Godzilla dead. He wants to see Godzilla saved and returned to his position as king of the monsters. So it'll show his story has come full circle as well. Now getting into Apex and their motivations a little bit, I think that this will help clear up Apex's motivations. They knew Kong wouldn't leave his island on his own, so there was no way Godzilla and Kong were going to fight outside of getting Godzilla to Skull Island. If they killed Godzilla, there'd be nothing to protect the rest of the world, because if Godzilla died on Skull Island, if Kong and Godzilla fought on the island, Kong would have no reason to leave. He would have killed Godzilla. It's done. So now the rest of the world is left without a king. The rest of the world is now completely vulnerable to Titan attacks, and that's what Apex wants. If Godzilla killed Kong, Godzilla would see Mechagodzilla in the process and have more incentive to turn on humanity, leading to the orca giving him that final push. It was kind of a win-win situation for them. If Godzilla wins, he sees Mechagodzilla and they can convince him to turn on humanity. If Kong wins, humanity is left without their protector. If Godzilla's dead, the Titans that have gone in hiding around the world would come back out of hiding because they are no longer living in fear. If Kong is dead, the Titans from the Hollow Earth can also rise back up because now they are no longer being kept down there by this creature on this island. Godzilla will appear in China, and by the time he makes it to Hong Kong, he'll be doing battle with the Super X3, which will use masers to attack him. The masers will establish Godzilla's weakness to electricity. Although they won't necessarily do too much damage to him, it will clearly show that Godzilla is vulnerable to it. He will have some sort of physical response to it where it hurts him. I like the idea that Ling and Brooks have a little bit more to do. Maybe both the Brookses could be in this final bit as well. They could be on the Argo during the final battle, while Chen and Mark help G-Team storm Apex. When Kong finally does show up in Hong Kong, I want a little bit of a sense of Kong being a fish out of water. He's never experienced a city before, you know? He's never seen anything like this, and I don't want that to be lost on him. He'll take a moment to take it all in, it'll really be crazy for him, and then he'll lock in on Godzilla and realize that Godzilla's destroying the city. I want Kong to be caught off guard as he tries to climb buildings and they start to collapse underneath him. It's not something he's used to. The mountains don't do that. Buildings will, they're more fragile, and it'll really throw him off. The amount of vehicles on the ground and in the air is also really distracting for him. He's very perceptive of how different things are, but he's also not too hung up on it to fight. He's still way more focused on Godzilla than anything else. Like I said, at the end of the battle, Godzilla sacrifices himself for the humans. He doesn't fight back too much as Kong attacks him at the end. He's still gonna fight back. It's gonna be clear that he is doing his best to try and keep Kong away from people. He's trying to limit the collateral damage. I really want to drive the point home that he doesn't just give up. He's still fighting. This is also how we could reveal the loss of the atomic breath. He could still try and shoot Kong. Maybe he hits Kong with a little bit of vapor breath that does not much. But like I said, Godzilla is just putting in the effort into buying people enough time to get away. The people specifically being Mark and the group. And Godzilla is doing this out of guilt. It will add a whole new character layer for Godzilla. With Kong's victory, Kong will break Godzilla's jaw, causing him to collapse on the ground. Through the 33 victory roar, it'll be a big King Kong moment. Hooray, Godzilla got one too. He'll go back in for the kill, but he'll stop as the Iwi catch his eye. He'll look up and see them, and then he'll realize what Godzilla was doing. He'll look back down at Godzilla and let him go. Maybe, I don't really like this idea, but maybe in some small way Kong could help Godzilla back up, and then he'll back off, so the two of them will distance themselves from one another. Someone, probably Julian Dennison's character, will call Kong the king of the monsters. That character will be corrected by Chen or Ling or someone, stating that Godzilla will always be the king of the monsters. King Kong is just the defender of Skull Island, but he will have earned the title King Kong. And I like the idea of having King Kong and Godzilla go through similar events where they lose control of the fight and nearly get people killed. They can both come to understand one another by going through such similar events. Of course, Kong gets distracted trying to save humanity. Godzilla tries to divert Kong away from humanity. That's how both of them wind up losing their fights. This will potentially help them get over their differences in the future, as now they have shared experience that they can both understand and relate to one another with. Originally though, before I was going to give Godzilla an understanding of Kong's role in the world, I was going to have Kong win just so that he didn't die. Godzilla is seen as much more relentless than Kong, and so I just feel that it's more in character for Kong to realistically spare another monster like Godzilla than it would be for Godzilla to spare Kong, which is why I added in the plot line of Godzilla understanding that Kong is the king of the Hollow Earth. He needs to protect Skull Island so that nothing rises up from the Hollow Earth. That's why I added that plot line, and I think it's important, so I wanted to mention why I originally had Kong win, because it wasn't just, oh, I like King Kong, I want Kong to win. We can have one of the Monarch guys mention how they'll help the Iwi rebuild Skull Island in the wake of everything. As I mentioned in my last pitch video, I did have some of the Iwi escape the island on Ospreys with Monarch before Godzilla used his atomic pulse to vaporize the Iwi village. So there are still a decent amount of them left, and they can rebuild in the future. As for Mothra, during the Mothra post-credit scene, the only thing I'd change here is the youngest twins, the two little girls there. I don't know if they're Chen's daughters or Ling's daughters, but I think they're Chen's. I would have them be singing Mothra's song. It was something we were originally going to see in Godzilla King of the Monsters. I don't want to lose that opportunity, so I think having those two girls sing Mothra's song would be absolutely awesome for the end of the movie. At the very end of the movie, during the post-credits, the Ghidorah they're reviving ends up looking a little different. He's got darker scales, they're much more red than they used to be. This will set up Ghidorah's eventual mutation, which if I were to follow up on this movie, I would have Ghidorah eventually mutate into Destroya, or a Destroya-esque monster, but probably just straight up Destroya. I think that'd be really cool. There's some exposition relating to Ghidorah's new enhancements. Someone explains that they've mixed other Titan DNA into Ghidorah so that he'll be even stronger than before. He is now like the perfect organism. Someone even mentions how the Oxygen Destroyer's residual effects have had quite the impact on him as well. And this can lead to the Crimson King Ghidorah, which is the version I would have in the next movie. I would have Ghidorah be all red in the next movie, wasted, torn into bits, and then when he regenerates, he would regenerate as Destroya. And that'll do it for my final pitch video, guys. This one was a long one because there was a lot to go through. It was also definitely, I'm just saying this now so I can get out of it later, the least edited of the bunch because it wasn't as integral to the rest of the story. It was just some slight changes. Maybe I could talk about someday what I would do in a Godzilla vs. Kong movie had I not set all the parameters on myself, because my version of Godzilla vs. Kong would be different than my version of Godzilla vs. Kong. If I were to write the movie unrestricted, it would look a lot different than the one I pitched today. There's a lot of similarities in my version as well, but it is not anywhere near as complicated as the one I pitched in this series. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man out.